Ahoy, mateys! I say you're in need of help to defeat the Giant of the Kraloves. After that Ochre Dofus, or simpler for fun. Well, fear not. This old sword will teach you the ways, you dirty scallywags. Arvast ye! What a flogging you'll get. Sir, let's get a crackin', you dirty dogs.
Oh man, how about that pirate? So, on Dofus Touch, the lair of the Giant Kralove is just open at the beginning of every month. Unlike the PC counterpart, you don't need 30-some people from the server sitting on tiles for a chance to fight this giant boss monster, which simply is
amazing.
Alright dude, calm down. Let me do the intro.
Yarr.
You will need a crafted key to enter the dungeon though, as the bunch of keys doesn't work for it. Whether you are on mobile, PC, or even retro, this guide will work across the board as the dungeon pretty much functions the same way. So let me know if this guide helps you in other platforms. But since obviously this is a touch channel, we'll be running the dungeon on touch. The Giant Kralove, as big as it is, it's actually just a snout, and as you can see, it just sits on this one cell surrounded by a gap around it. This means that any attacks or spells that hit in close combat will not work here. Also, everyone will be under the effects of gravity during the whole fight, so any jumping type spells will not work. The snout does attack with a spell called Immobilizing Speed Water, which on Bewitches hits decently with fire, and most importantly, it adds a trigger to your character that removes up to 6 MP whenever said character is healed, so keep that in mind. As for the mechanics for the boss fight, it revolves around the 4 elements: air, earth, fire, and water. Whenever you hit the snout with an elemental attack, it will summon a particular tentacle corresponding to that element once per turn. So when you hit it with an air attack, it will summon the first tentacle, which is the most dangerous of them all. Even though it's called the first tentacle, you want to summon it last. That's because it insta-kills whatever it attacks, so you really don't want to deal with it by having it on the field for too long.
Summon the first tentacle last? Yarr! Shiver me timbers. Aye, this be why you should never trust what a Kralove says seriously.
Wait, why is that?
Yeah, matey. They always cracking jokes.
What? Pirate, go away! With an earth attack, it summons the second tentacle, which, besides damage and debuffing health, there's really nothing crazy about it. Fire attacks summon the third tentacle, which just hits hard and places one random debuff, but again, there's nothing special about it. And finally, a water attack will give you the fourth tentacle, which is the other one you kinda have to watch out for. This one can cancel turns in an area of effect, so if you're not careful with it, that could throw a wrench into your fight. Whenever a tentacle attacks something, it will get put into the ink state. So the idea would be to summon all 4 tentacles backwards, which is counterintuitive to their names. First would be the fourth with water, second the third with fire, the third the second with an earth attack, and finally the first with air. Once you have them all out on the field, you then want to trigger their ink state. It's a good idea to place and position the first 3 tentacles around a summon that can lock them and keep them in place, away from the party. Summons are going to be important for this fight because they make great fodder, especially when the Kralove goes berserk when it becomes vulnerable.
Yarr! The old shark bait to run a rig.
Now, with the tentacle that was summoned using an air attack, you want to place it directly in front of the Kralove. This is because it will be used to block the line of sight of the Kralove itself. The Kralove can hit pretty much anything on the map, but it can't hit what it can't see.
A night badge for the Kralove.
Yeah, in a sense that's the idea. You will have to keep this tentacle in check because like I said, it is pretty dangerous with its insta-kill ability. So removing its MP is a great idea. And this would be the tentacle that you really want to feed a summon to. So once all this is set up, this will help you vulnerable the Kralove itself. But of course, it's not as straightforward as it seems.
Blimey, look out!
When the Kralove becomes vulnerable, it and its tentacles go berserk with buffs. It's going to give out 8,000 damage, vitality, and 2 MP to the tentacles. So if you don't keep the tentacles away and the Kralove's line of sight blocked, characters are going to be one-shotted left and right.
Lower me down! What call ye when a Kralove becomes strict about things? Yar.
What do you call it?
Arg! Cracking down! Yar!
Alright, let's just move on. Ideally, you want to kill it in one turn. If you don't, you have to set up again, which is kind of annoying. So you and your team are going to want to make sure all hands are on deck and dish out around 4,000 to 5,000 points of damage. One cool little tip is that you can unbewitch the buffs from the Kralove, removing the vitality buff it gives itself, making it just a little bit easier to take down its health. And one last thing, for those who are doing the Ochre Dofus quest and have the Giant Kralove Soul Stone, you don't have to cast Soul Capture and waste your AP. Simply having the Soul Stone equipped is enough to capture it. So that's the rundown on the boss mechanics of the Giant Kralove. For those that need more of a visual example, let's move on to the commentated real-time run of the boss room.
Aye! Batten down the hatches! All hands ahoy! Load the cannons! Where's me pig?
Alright, let's get to it. One thing to note here is that the Kralove actually has an aggro area. If you're like moving around in the map and if you're not ready, you will trigger the fight, so keep that in mind. Right, so here we are, just Saram, Inu, Annie, and Osa. The boss fight is not too class specific, as long as you have like a healer and a positioner and some damage dealers, you should be good. And definitely a summoner. I know a lot of people like to have a panda for this, but you can do it without it. Alright, so right off the bat, everybody goes into gravity, so you can't jump, you can't teleport, none of that stuff. So we start off with hitting it with water to get the water tentacle, which is the fourth. And the first turn, not a whole much happens. Passing, a bit of buffing. So here you can see that Annie is doing a little bit of healing, but because of that trigger effect, some of the characters are losing MP. So keep that in mind, especially if you're healing your positioner, because that's gonna leave it just stuck. Okay, see, so this is something you don't want to do either. All the characters were kind of lined up, so the tentacle was able to attack all 3 of them at the same time. So the Annie and the Saram and Inu they got canceled, man. They got canceled. They'd be talking smack on Twitter or something. So I kind of left them there just so I could show you guys. Other little things that could go wrong. Also here, just gonna try to move it out the way. Use the board to just push it. Come on, come on, you can do it. There we go. That boy was thinking about it. Alright, so other characters should be good now. Damn, I only have one bar. I guess I'm kind of laggy. Oh no, there we go, 3 bars. Okay, so here I'm gonna start setting up the double, so I can start locking the 3 tentacles in one spot. So this will work with a god. I could do this with the especially since the Osa is air, so the gob doesn't hit that hard, and it won't kill the tentacles. So I could totally lock them down with a gob, or again with Panda, with their little old man Panda summon. I forget what it's called. Panda Wasta. And here, just healing the summon, since technically it doesn't count as heals. It counts as steals, maybe? I don't know the technicality behind that, but it doesn't trigger the MP effect. Alright, and it's it with a fire attack. Starts summoning the next tentacle. There it is. And this tentacle is the one that gives like a random debuff. In this case, it reduced the range of everybody that it hit, which is not that big of a deal in the end. Especially since right now, it's all about the setup, moving things around, placing things. And again, the first handful of turns is just going to be about positioning and the setup. Like once you get the hang of it, you could definitely do this dungeon, or rather this boss fight in less 10 minutes or so. I've always found this dungeon intimidating, but it isn't that bad as it looks. Alright, so the Inu summons the living back. Though in the end it doesn't matter, because when the Kralove hits you, it unbewitches you. So the sacrifice effect from the living back is just going to get unbewitched and just negate it. The enemy keeps healing off the damage, but it's also triggering that immobilizing effect, and the characters are just losing the MP. A little annoying, but it's manageable. And you see, once you have the tentacles kind of locked, you don't really have to worry about them. You just kind of do a thing, and now going in with the earth attack to trigger the earth summon. Just having a long, non-linear range just works out so well. This bag just gets in the way. And again, trying to stay healthy. Just healing up any damage. It adds up. I mean, he does hit around 500-ish. Especially if you're at the level, it could be detrimental. If your characters are at 180, you're not high on the health with the endgame gear. Here, just more positioning. And there we go. And the setup with the 3 tentacles is complete. Just gonna scoot over here and just get this bag out of the way. Not going to kill it. We could probably take a hit, and that just would be less damage on one of the characters. Though I wish even tactical mode, it would show the whole Kralove. That would be pretty cool. Instead of just the snout, it's kind of just weird, and not as intimidating. Alright, here we go, hitting there with the air attack to trigger the air summon. And you can unbewitch the negative effect on the MP, which is what the NE did right here. Okay, so here's the air tentacle, which is Earth's tentacle. So this one needs 6 AP, I believe, to do its attack. So it needs to be buffed by AP first, which that's what it does at the beginning of the turn. So right when it gets summoned, you don't have to worry about it. This is a turn you want to take advantage of to just position it in place. If you get stuck in a bad place with it too, just removing AP from it will be enough to disable it as well. Losing my MP here just keeps throwing me off. Yeah, I'm looking for the chafer, and I didn't see the little chafer. I saw it after I placed it. I was like, oh, like a little brain fart. But because I am playing this on my iPhone, and I'm usually playing on iPad, but so I just got used to the spell bars on the iPad. But we alright, we alright. I can be playing my tricks.
Yar can be.
How y'all like that pirate voice? Let me know in the comments below. Alright, Eno just goes in, removes all the MP from the tentacle, just in case. It can't hit you if it can't move. So I don't think the tentacles have any range at all. They do have a little bit of AoE, like a staff. Like you saw before when the turn canceling tentacle hit everybody, it hit 3 characters. Also here, the tentacles have a weakness to a certain element. They don't have a lot of health, so they could be one shot pretty easily. But if you need to kill one, it's okay. Just hit the snout again with the element to resummon that tentacle. So the enemy here is just going to hit it with air attack. Just like that, here it is again. As you can see, first turn it just buffs AP, so it's not very dangerous. Wow, and this tentacle just lags. Shoot, this tentacle entered the lag state. I don't know how common this happens. I think we're good.
Yar, smartly there, men. Step 2, ye rapscallion.
And again, it's Ram here coming in with the positioning. The positioner is going to be a big role here, which is overall just getting stuff placed. So this tentacle is going to go right in front of the snout. So that's what I'm trying to do here with the Saran, as well as to take away its MP, just keep it in place. And like you saw in the guide, you want this tentacle to go on front, because that's going to block the line of sight of the Kralove.
Hear ye! Arr! Why couldn't the Kralove say, "Aye aye, Captain"?
Oh, really? Now? I gotta beat this thing up, dude. Why? Tell me why? Why?
Because he only had one eye! Ha!
Dude, stop it. And you want all the characters to line up right behind it too, just so nobody gets hit. Also, another thing to keep in mind too is to make sure to line up in the same order as the turn order, just so everybody can hit the Kralove when it's their turn, especially if they don't have that much range to them. So right here, like the Enotroph should have been behind the Saram, and the Osa should have been next, and lastly the Eni. Just because it's a little bit tight in this part of the map, and you need to be able to hit the Kralove and just get out the way. And here I'm kind of debating if I should step on the paralyzing trap or not, because I'm gonna need the MP. Alright, that wasn't too bad. Okay, so I push it right up against it, and then I set up the double to sacrifice it. And I start setting up for when the Kraken starts going berserk. Because even though the tentacle has 0 MP at the moment, it's going to buff all the tentacles with 2 MP. So it's going to be able to move. And I know it's just going to move forward. It's going to be pushed by the traps, and and end up just out of the way and not have to waste resources getting it out the way. And here the Inu starts setting up a little bit too early. That's alright. Even though the setup's happening this turn, the actual vulnerable trigger won't take into effect until not next turn, but the turn after. It's kind of weird. I could throw you off a little bit because the Giant Kralove has to check for the ink states on all 4 tentacles. So that means that just the tentacles being in the ink state is not enough. So the vulnerability is not immediately in that sense, which can lead into setting up early. So keep that in mind. Right, see how the snout didn't hit anything? It just kind of passes turn. So this position here is kind of like the ultimate goal, or the more effective way to do this. You can always throw a couple of static summons in front of the Kralove for fodder if need be, but overall this is what you want to shoot for. And you saw the second devil literally just gets like devoured, one-shotted, which needs to happen to put this tentacle into its ink state. Any summon would do here. It's definitely a character. If push comes to shove, you can sacrifice a character, but just about all classes have access to a summon you could just throw at it. Chafer, Carrot, what have you. Just keep in mind its reach. So all these tentacles are in the ink state now. But like I mentioned, you actually have to wait into the Kralove's turn for it to go berserk and do kind of like the burst effect and become vulnerable. Here the Inu should have reduced the MP on the tentacles. Kind of forgot to do that just because he's still a little bit too close to them. But we'll see how it plays out. Hopefully they eat the. Sorry, so here's the burst effect. It does. You see all the buffs. A lot of things happening at this point of the fight. The tentacle, the dangerous air tentacle just moves. Traps push it out the way, and now we have a clear shot. The Inu just gets wrecked, especially with the crit. Yeah, like I said, it was too close, but this is where everything could just go south. And here, at this point, just give it everything you got. Okay, here the Osa puts on the dragon. Okay, so I'm guessing. So the idea was the dragon was gonna unbewitch the snout, just because it does get 1,000 HP buff. It didn't do it. We got to deal with a questionable AI, but the Annie coming in with the heavy hits here. But oh man, what? Just coming in short. Losing at 84 HP. Nah, man, not like this. I gotta do this for YouTube, man. This is for the people. But we failed. Oh man, am I gonna have to reshoot? Psych. We got it. And we got both of the challengers as well. So Untouched, it can also drop a little rare ceremonial pet as well, which, you know, could be a cool little thing to hunt or just to go after when fighting the Kralove. There you go, folks. That's how you beat the Giant Kralove. I really hope this guide helps you with your fight with the Giant Kralove. If you're doing the Ochre Dofus quest, congratulations for getting to this point of the Eternal Harvest quest line.
Arr! Don't ye forget to subscribe for more Dofus Touch content.
Yeah, and hit that like button too. And follow me on Twitter as well. I'm pretty active on there.
Aye, or down to the depths with ye, where dead men tell no tales. Arr, 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 arr.
Until next time, this is Challenger EX.